and we're going to add 6 inches in total to the back, and then we are going to add 4 inches in total to the front. So to do that, and this is what I mean, I already have one, the other half up. So right here in the front, I added 2 inches to this side. So now that means I have to add 2 inches to this side to make a total of 4 inches in the front. And then how you see this poking out and right here on this side, I added an additional 2 inches to the back. And now I need to, do the other 2 inches on this side, which will end up making this a total of 6 inches in the back and then 4 inches in the front. So now we're going to work on this side to match this side. And the reason why I'm adding 6 inches to the back and to the front is because I did my hexagon to the my arm width, so it's kind of it's not too wide. So I just need to add a couple extra inches for the neckline and to just widen it out a little bit more. But this gives it to where you have like the thin arms, the not so wide arms, and then you still have the width of the body. So let's get started with adding on. So the first part, you are going to go around like this. We're going to start over into the corner with the right side of your work facing you, and we are going to work from this side all the way to the other side, and that's adding on to the front and the back panels. So that's what we're going to do first, and then after we add on to the front and the back panels, then we're just going to work only in the back to add on to the back panels. Okay, so before we get started on lengthening, adding width to your front and back panel, I did want to mention that you don't have to add width to your front and back panel if you do not want to. You do need to add at least 1 inch to the back panel to give it a nice neckline, but for the front and back panels, if you want to skip that step and go straight to the back panel, you can. For children's sizes, I suggest skipping the front and back panel and then just doing the back panel. But for adult sizes, I do suggest doing the front and back panel part and the back panel part. I say this because the children's sizes, they go up and down, and I noticed that adding to the front and the back makes your cardigan too big, and just adding to the back makes it perfect fitting for them. But with adult sizing, since you're going by with your arm width, you don't have that much width in the beginning part, so adding the front and back panels helps it widen it out a little bit. But it's totally up to you, and if you have the person there with you, just have them try it on and kind of like stretch it out to see where it lands. And if it lands in the middle part of your back, if one panel lands in the middle part of the person's back, then you can stop right there because that's enough. Just make sure you do your back panel so that you can have your neckline. And even on the back panel portion, you don't need to do 2 rows. You can do 1 row if that gets you to the middle of the back, but you need to at least add 1 row to the back panel so that you can have a nice neckline. Okay, so I just wanted to show you what it looks like for a kid size with, for this size, for size 6, I did 1 row on the front and back panel. So the pattern for row 1 I did on the front and back panel, and then I did 1 row for the back panel. So, and I ended up adding 1 row for the front and back panel, and then 1 row for the back panel, and then I just did that same thing that I did to one arm to the other arm. So I just wanted to just do notes letting you know that you necessarily don't have to do all of the rows for the front and back panels and just the back panel. You kind of have to go with the flow and figure out your sizing and if it's too big or not, because everyone's body is made different. So like a size 6 might need extra, another little kid that has a size 6 might need extra rows, or a little kid might need no front and back panel at all but just the back panel. It all depends on your body shape and all of that and how you would like it to fit. But one thing is that you always have to do at least 1 row for the back panel so it can give you that neckline. That is very important. You don't have to do the 2 rows, but you do have to do at least 1 row, and you don't have to do all of the rows for the front and back panel, or you don't have to do any rows for the front and back panel, but it is very important that you do the back rows. So now let's get started, and I will show you how to do the front and back panels and then just the back panel. Okay, so to get started with adding on to the front and the back panels, you are going to want to get your solid color yarn if you're color blocking, and you are going to want to switch back to your 5mm hook, or if you used a different size yarn, whatever hook size, go 1 up from whatever you were using for the cuff, or whatever hook size you were using to make the hexagon portion. So you are going to attach your yarn to your right corner, so right here at the end. So here's your sleeve, here's the front panel, and then you're going to attach your yarn into this chain 2 space, which is the corner cluster. There we go. And then you are going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you are going to place 2 double crochets inside of that chain 2 cluster space. There we go. So here's the chain 2 corner, and we just added on a chain 3 and then 2 double crochets, and then you are going to chain 1, and you're going to mosaic cluster stitch all the way until you get to your middle seam, and you're going to be able to tell it's the middle seam because it looks like this. It goes kind of like a hill, and that's how you know that's your middle seam. So mosaic granny cluster all the way until you get to your middle seam, and I will show you how to do the middle part. Okay, so now I am at my middle stitch, my middle seam right here. So you are going to want to do a mosaic granny right here, and how we're going to do that is we're going to place our first double crochet. Here's a chain 3. We're going to place it right here on the right side of that chain 3, and then you're going to do a front post treble around this chain 3 here in the middle, and then you're going to place a double crochet on the left side of that chain 3, or now the treble that you just did. And then you are just going to continue placing your mosaic granny clusters until you get to the end, and I will show you how to finish off. So it's as easy as that. And the middle seam, you can't even tell that is where your middle seam is, and it blends so well together. And I will see you back at the end. And I have this last little corner space right here, and you are going to place 3 double crochets into that corner space, which is your chain 2 space. And then you are going to, this is what it looks like, and then you are going to turn your work. And now we are going to work our way back. So that was the end of round 1 for the back and front panel. Now we're going to start, row 2. Now that was the end of row 1. Now we're going to start row 2, and we are going to chain 3. And then this is where it's slightly different. So I'm going to call this the reverse mosaic granny stitch cluster. Because you, instead of doing a front post treble, you are going to be doing a back post treble. So, in this chain 1 space, you are going to do your mosaic granny like you usually would do to start it off by placing 1 double crochet in there. And instead of doing a front post treble like that, you are going to do a back post treble around your second double crochet from the previous round in that cluster. Just like a regular mosaic granny stitch, but instead of doing the front post treble, you are going to be doing a back post treble. So I'll show you again. So chain 1. Next chain 1 space, you are going to put 1 double crochet, and then you're going to put a back post treble, and then here we are. Here's the treble from the previous round. So you're going to do a back post treble like that, and then you're going to place a double crochet back into that chain 1 space. So the only difference again is instead of doing a front post treble, you are going to be doing a back post treble around the round's previous treble. Or if it doesn't have a treble, it will be the second double crochet. So keep doing that all the way until you get to the other end, and then I will meet you there. Alright, so I am here at the end. I have 1 more chain 1 space. I have to put a reverse mosaic cluster into. Alright, now to end this round 1, row 1 off, you are going to place a double crochet right here in the top of that chain 3. So you're going to put 1 double crochet in the top of that chain 3. And then you're going to turn your work. Round 2 is complete. Now let's do round 3. So for round 3, you are going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Row 3. I keep getting my rows and rounds mixed up. And then this chain 3 counts as your first double crochet, and you are going to finish off a mosaic granny cluster by placing a treble around that the middle double or second double crochet from the previous round, and then you're going to put 1 double crochet back into that chain 1 space, and then chain 1. And then that's how you start off row 3. So your chain 3 counts as your first double crochet, then do 1 front post treble, and then put 1 double crochet back into that chain 1 space. Now, mosaic granny cluster, put a mosaic granny cluster in each chain 1 space until you get to the end. Okay, so I have 1 more chain 1 space right here before I get to this end chain 3 space. So I'm gonna put a cluster right there. And then chain 1. Okay, so now in this chain 3 space right here, you are actually going to put a mosaic cluster right in there. And then you're going to go around, so put 1 double crochet in that space, and then go around this middle double crochet right here from the previous round. Put a front post treble, and then place a double crochet back into that chain 3 space, and that is the end of round 3. Now turn your work and then chain 4, and then chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you are going to reverse mosaic granny cluster all the way until the end. And this is your row 4, and this is your last row for the front and the back panel. So once again, a reverse granny mosaic cluster is placing 1 double crochet in that chain 1 space, and then you're going to do a back post treble around the treble from the previous round. Well, row in this case. So here it is again. Put 1 double crochet in the next chain 1 space, then back post treble, and I kind of put my middle finger in there and the treble from the previous round just to kind of like bring it out, so it's easier for me to wrap my hook around it, and then I'm not grabbing yarn and pulling a stitch. So here I do it again. Put my finger in there, insert my hook, pull up the loop, and do it. Oh, I forgot and then continue on with the treble. Now continue doing your reverse mosaic granny stitches all the way until the end, and then I will meet you back there and I will show you how to do the back panel only. Okay, so I am at the end right here of row 4, and then you're going to want to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 right here to end this row. And then now you have completed the front and back panel extensions. So now, right now, we are going to start working on just the back panel to give it more width in the back. So when you get ready to do that, it is very important on how you do this part. Okay, so I have one made up. So this one has the front and the back panel done, and then it also has just the back panel done. So this is a complete full side done half of the cardigan. So with this one, I was able to, you see how right here we just stopped right here for the front and back panel, and on this side, I was able to just chain up the 3 and turn it because this was I ended on my back panel. But for this one that I just did, I ended on my front panel. So I will have to fasten off, and then I'm going to have to fasten on into this back part. Because it's very important at this time, if you only made one, you can just, from row 4, you can just chain 3 and then move on to the steps for the back panel. But if you are making your second panel, you're going to have to fasten off and then fasten on to your back panel. So it's really good if you've already made one, just put them out like this so you can know where your front panel is and where to fasten off and attach your yarn. So right now I am going to fasten off, because this is the panel, this is the side that we're working on, this is the finished one. I'm going to fasten off right there, because this is my front panel. And then now we are going to be working on the back panel so we can get that little extension like on this side that we have on this panel and this side. Okay, so here's my front. So now you are just going to turn your work to where your back panel is facing up and your arm is facing away from you. So like this. So we're going to be working this way. So this is the front panel where we just fastened off at. So now you're just going to take your work, flip it, your corner is right here, your sleeve is away from you like this, and then we're going to attach our yarn into this bottom little right corner right here, which it will be considered like a little chain 2 space. So let's get that. Zoom in. So we are going to attach our yarn into this corner right here. Okay, so before we actually attach our yarn, we are going to want to find our middle point so we know where to stop. And your middle point is going to be right where your seam is. So I will zoom in. So this is our seam right here where we did the arm. And then this is where we did the lengthening, did the back and front panels. And then this is our middle part. So it's a chain 1 space right here. And then you can just take your finger, go just like this. And then it's that chain 1 space right here. So this is the seam part where we did the arm seaming. And then this is where we lengthened. And then this is going to be your middle part. And then you're just going to want to put a clip right here, so then you know this is where you stop. Okay, so you're going to attach your yarn into the corner stitch of your back panel. And then you're going to chain up 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you are going to back post treble around the previous treble from the round before or row before. And then you're going to place a double crochet back into that space. And then that's how you start off row 2 for the back panel. Row 1 for the back panel. And then you are just going to place mosaic reverse mosaic granny clusters all the way until your stitch marker. And I will show you how to do that part once you get there. Alright, so I am at my stitch marker, my middle stitch, and all I'm going to do is place a cluster stitches in there. And then that is going to end row 1 for your back panel. So for row 2 for the back panel, you are going to turn your work and you are going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you are going to do mosaic granny clusters all the way and to the end, and I will meet you there. Okay, I am at the end and I just placed mosaic granny clusters into all of my chain 1 spaces, and now I am here at the end and I am going to place a double crochet into the top part of this beginning chain 3 right here. or this just chain 3 right here at the end. And then that ends row 2, and we can fasten off because we are about to seam the 2 pieces together. Now, let's pause for a minute. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you're finished. You did your hexagon, you did your sleeves, you extended your sleeves, you did your cuffs, you extended the back and the front panel, and then you did a little extra for the back. Now you're going to stop here and you're going to do literally everything all over again to make your second panel. So then you will have 2 identical panels like this. Oh, it's so pretty. So stop here and then go make your other panel. Now note for making your other panel, when you do your back and front panel, on your right panel with your work facing you laying down, this is the right panel, you won't have to fasten off your yarn after your front and back panel. All you're going to have to do is turn your work in chain 3, and you're either going to have to reverse mosaic cluster until you're into your midpoint, or you're going to have to do a regular mosaic cluster to your midpoint. Now, that all depends on how you attach your yarn, but it's just the same type of pattern when your work is not facing you. When your work is facing you like this and you're working this way, you do a regular mosaic cluster, and then if you are going this way, then you're doing a reverse mosaic cluster. So stop here and go make another panel, and then meet me back here so that we can attach both of your panels together and add length to it if you want, or just do your border.